Hello everyone. Welcome, welcome. Had to get my tea. It is, drum roll, Drama-Free Friday. So I hope you guys are doing well today. Yeah, it's Friday. Hi Bonnie. Hi Lori. Hi Dorothy. Nice to see you guys, all of you. Hello Patty. Hi Kuka. It's great to see you guys. Great to be here for our November stream. Hi Cindy. Hi Marion. Sorry, trying to get my jacket all. Get myself sorted. If you hear a bunch of roaring in the background, that's because the neighbors behind us, which are right outside a window that's just to my left, are cutting trees or doing something, and so they've got big heavy equipment going on, so it's like really noisy. Yeah, it's like really noisy out there. Anyway, I've got all the windows closed and everything, so I mean we've done whatever we can to cut down the noise, but if there's a lot of it happening, there's just a lot of it happening. So okay, hang on. Sorry, I was just adjusting something on my computer. Okay. It's always something wanting to give me a message, you know what I mean? always something wanting to tell me what to do here. Anyway, so let's see. Just catching up with the chat here. Lori said she's glad I'm streaming today. Me too. Let's see. Dorothy hopes I'm getting caught up. I don't know whether I'll ever get completely caught up, but I'm working on it. Yep, there is Promise. Inklips, hello, welcome. I haven't seen you before. Queen City Arts, that's Care, I think, right? Is that Care? Silvana, ciao from Italy. Thanks for joining us. I see Clausman's in the house. Annette. It's an hour early for you. Yeah, our time changes here next Friday. This weekend. So the next time you see me, which will be the first week in December, the time will be different. So you'll need to be sure that if your time, just Google it as to what 2 p.m. Eastern looks like for you. Hi, CB. It is Care. Okay. Hi, Nancy. Good to see you. Hi, Jane. Nice to have you here. Just catching up with everybody for a minute. I wasn't on last week, so just catching up with everybody. Hi, Jan. Hi, Nina. Hey, Dar. Cheshire Cat Dar. Nanette, Shirley, wow. Let's Make a Mess, Dawn. Got a great group coming in today. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Uh-oh. The technical department. As soon as I bring out the tea, the technical department shows up, also known as Race Owen. Hey, if you guys want to see something funny, 2 p.m. Eastern looks like nap time to him. If you guys want to see something, you need to go something really funny. Hi, Zandra. You need to go over to Nikki Beauty Bliss, her YouTube channel. That's Race's girlfriend. Go over to her channel here on YouTube, and they did a Halloween stream where she makes him up as a clown. And it is probably, and there are adult beverages involved, and it is probably one of the funniest things I've seen in a while. Just saying. Okay, who else is here? Just my chat keeps racing ahead. No pun intended. Hi, Merdina. I think I saw Marion here a second ago. Hi, Ina. So just trying to catch everybody. Hello, Barbara. Just trying to catch everybody before we get going. Hello, Monique. Let's see. Sorry, there was somebody here I missed. I'm sure there's several somebodies I missed. Kiki. Hey, Linda. Yeah, Monique says, I told you before he has a secret alarm to tell you whenever I have illegal fluids on the table. It's pretty funny. Oh, Marion got to see it. Did you laugh, Marion? Did you laugh, Marion? Hi, Anna from Brazil. Welcome. Such a great audience we have. Shirley says, she was, and he was hilarious. They really are funny. I don't think Race has any idea how funny he truly is. And you don't get to see it very often, but oh my goodness, it was funny. Hey, Deb Boring. Boo, back to you. Jan, she was trying to spread peanut butter on bread at the craft table while chasing the cat away. The chat got ignored. Oh, okay. I will be streaming December the 1st is the next time I'll be streaming. Yeah, I'm not streaming every week now. I've changed the schedule, so I'm streaming once a month. So the next time I'll stream will be on Friday, December 1st, I believe it is. I think that's right. If not, we'll find whatever the first Friday is in December. Hello, Krissa. Good to see you. Okay, I think I caught up with everybody on the chat. So, let's see. We'll just put this to the side. First of all, I wanted to say, once again, we've experienced a crazy experience here in the United States, this time in New York City. And I just wanted to say my heart goes out to everyone in New York that is dealing with that situation. It's just... I always feel like I have to acknowledge it, because we do say it's Drama-Free Friday here, which sometimes can let people think that I have my head in the sand and, don't, everything's unicorn and rainbows, don't you know? And a lot of the time, that's exactly how I approach life here, and, but I am well aware of what's going on, so anyway, just thinking about all of the people involved in that situation in New York City that happened earlier this week. So anyway, let's move forward. Tomorrow is, those of you that are VIP members of the website at HowToGetCreative.com, your VIP class is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. The email went out earlier today with that information, and so I will be seeing you tomorrow for the live class, which of course will be recorded and available for you to watch. So and sparkles too, Debbie Boring says, and sparkles, yes, because I have glitter poop pills courtesy of Debbie Boring. She sent me glitter poop pills. Yeah, they're still in the container. How will we keep our other Fridays drama free? It's a big job. It's a big job, but I have confidence that I've trained you well. I have confidence I've trained you well. I really do. Okay. Illegal fluids off the table. So the last time we were together, I made some tiny little books, and I thought I would show them to you after they were completely finished. Yes, Miss Mary and I will see you tomorrow. So I thought I would show them to you just so you could see how they completely, you know, finished up. So let's see if I can get everything out of the picture here other than what we're wanting to look at. Oh, and my thumb looks like I have done something terrible to my thumb here. Just to let you know, I had a crack in my thumb. Once the weather cools off and the heat comes on, I started having trouble with my hands. Anyway, I had a crack in my thumb. I glued it up with super glue and then promptly got paint on the super glue, which, you know, won't come off. So that's why I look like that. That's right, Jane, I have you well trained. So anyway, here's one of the books that I did, and this was from 2 weeks ago when we were together last. So the covers on these are done with the mixed media, the Tattered Angels mixed media papers. And I put one of the Tim Holtz quotes from one of his little pads, you know, quote pads. And it says, "Live simply, give generously." And then the fabric, this was hand-printed fabric, which used to be quite different than this until Charlie helped me redecorate it and I had to wash it. And these papers in here are from the stream that we did where we printed with Model Magic printing plates. It's really cool paper. It really is. Yeah, you can glue the cracks back together in your hands. Super glue, as I understand it, was a product that was originally brought out, and I could be wrong because I'm not a medical person, was originally brought out to use on the battlefield to temporarily deal with wounds and stuff until they could transport the patients and so forth. So anyway, I learned about it from a veterinarian friend of mine that was something he always did, and it works. It stops those cracks from hurting. Anyway, don't do as I say. Don't do as I do. So here is Jan Terry is a nurse. So you can read, she says there's a medical super glue called Dermabond. So there you go. That's from a nurse. I'm not. So some of these are paste papers, but most of them, like this is a paste paper, most of these are done with the printing plates that we used that we made with the Model Magic a few weeks ago. So I'm just giving you a little tour through the books so you can see. So we did this a couple weeks ago, and I showed you how I stitched them together. Hello, Alice. Good to see you. Just like that. So it's fabric on the opposite side of the mixed media paper, and then the spines are there's 2 signatures in here, and these are stitched together. It's stitched together with wax linen thread, which you can almost see. So it's a 5-hole pamphlet stitch, and that's how they're stitched together. So they turned out nicely. And here's another one. Jan says super glue works great on paper cuts. So again, that's coming from somebody. I mean, I use it. I'm not telling you to use it, but I use it. How's that? Here's another one, and this one says start doing things you love. I just love I really enjoy having little books like this around. You know, will I use it for something? Oh, I don't know. But so many of they're the same papers. 2 signature books stitched together with that 2 rows of stitching because they're 2 signatures. And one more. And this one is Hold On Tight to Your Dreams. So this again is the same Tattered Angels mixed media paper. This time when I stitched the signatures in, the stitching didn't go so straight, and so I used some of my handmade washi tape and just glued over the stitching so you don't have to look at it. And that's what I like about things like that. You can just always camouflage something. I would rather take a chance on this being a little crooked, which I don't think. I think I got it pretty straight, rather than the stitching. The stitching really bothered me. So same kind of thing, fabric on the inside of the paper, and then the same printed papers. And then I had enough left over to make the tiny little books. So these are the itsy tiny ones. The itsy tiny ones. Hello, JZ Auntie Michael. Nice to see you. So here's the tiny little book. And because these were single signature books and they did not want to stay closed, I just made little belly bands for them. And that way they will stay closed. And they're doing better since the belly band's been on them. At first they were really, hello Melissa. At first they were really splayed open, but so this was just made with the leftovers. And this is a single, just one signature because it's so tiny. And it doesn't have very many pages in it. So, you know, these little books could be for a variety of things. Or I have no problem just leaving them just the way they are. I like that too. Hi, Shu. Hi, Josie. Great to have you guys here today. And again, it's the same mixed media paper. And this is just the way it ended up. So it had those words on the front. And then I just took a little strip of the same mixed media paper and made a little belly band, and it just slips over and holds it closed. Just like that. So there's one. And this is the other one. Same, it has a belly band on it. But because it was, it had no words, there was nothing that said, this is the front. So I put a word on it so I would know it was the front. Again, with another little belly band. I got them a little bit tight. If I ever put anything in these books, I'm going to have to make a new belly band because they will be not big enough. But there's the whole cover. And it's exactly the same process. It has fabric on the inside and then the little hand-printed or painted pages. But this way I know this is the front of the book. I know, they're fun, tiny little books. Hello, Virginia. They really are fun little books, you know? Hi, Vicky. Vicky says, hey, everybody. So that's what we did the last time we were together. We made those little teensy tiny books. So that's how they turned out. There were two more, and I've used them for other purposes. And so that is that. And then I wanted to show these to you. These are from a class that I just recorded. It was actually a bonus class at How to Get Creative, but I just thought I would show them to you so you can see all the details of how they're made if you're a member of the website. I showed also, sorry, my paper is not cooperating with me. It's fighting with me. But I find if I don't stick things back where they belong, like in the bag, yeah, everything becomes a giant mess. So this is more of the mixed media paper, and so is this. So these are both the Tattered Angels mixed media papers. And so I show in part 1 of this bonus class how I paint these using color bursts and how I make them permanent. And so that is what I used for both of these. These are moleskin notebooks, and so I used the paper as covers for that. I love the way this turned out. I like the way both of them turned out, but I particularly love this butterfly paper. Thank you, Jan. And then these are Traveler's Notebook inserts. Again, they are using the Tattered Angels mixed media paper, which I have no affiliation with them. I just happen to love the paper. And on this one, this is another one of those that, you know, you can't tell which is the right side up. So I just put some words down at the bottom. It says Original Wonderful Stuff. And so this fits inside a Traveler's Notebook. This is another one of the Tattered Angels papers. I love the way this turned out. This is another version of it. Same paper, painted a different way. Both painted with the Ken Oliver color bursts. And so I just thought I would show you those. And now we are ready to get crack-a-lackin'. So we're going to talk about the Greencraft magazine today. So this is Greencraft. And those of you, if you're not familiar with Greencraft, this is a magazine put out by the publisher of Somerset Studio, which is Stampington and Company. And they have a number of magazines. I've lost count. I don't know how many they have. But this is the one that deals with basically recycling projects. And sometimes I love them. Sometimes I'm like, not so much. Doesn't appeal to me. This one I really loved. This is the winter issue. And there's links to everything that I'm using today. There's a link straight to this magazine at the Stampington website, or Somerset, I guess it's the Stampington. Anyway, there is a link there. So if you want to go look at it, you can click it and that'll take you right over there to get more information if you want. This is the winter issue for 2018. Can you believe it? It is 2018 issue. Yeah. Anyway, I thought we'd look through this, and then we're going to make a little project that is as close to the instructions as I can make myself do it. I tend to be inspired by things and then take off in my own direction. But this is another one of their publications, Altered Couture. Yeah, the studio magazine, the Somerset Studio is great. This shows you a bunch of their magazines, Apronology, which I personally have no interest in, but apparently there must be a lot of interest because they have a whole magazine about it. So Somerset, I do like this one a lot. Artful Blogging is a beautiful magazine to look at. Beautiful. Prims, if you like primitive dolls, this is a good publication. Take 10 is, I think it's about cards. I've kind of forgotten. Create With Me is about creating with your children and so forth. And that's only part of a few of the magazines that they publish. So this one is a tablet case. So this is made with an old currency exchange fabric or bag or something, and then it will fit an iPad or tablet. And this is vintage paper sachets. Interesting stuff. And these are, let's see, I've forgotten. I have looked through this, but I haven't read it all. These are napkin rings. Fabric napkins and napkin rings were used. And talk about place settings. Somerset also has a store. So if there are art supplies that you want that you can't find someplace, you can get them there. This is about gift wrap, making your own gift wrap and cards, and decorating bags and so forth. And this is fabric corsages. This is the one we're going to deal with today, which we'll cover in detail. Clothing that you make into a purse using recycled blue jeans inside the bag. You can see them here. And placemats, and make a game board purse. So you can see the game, Scrabble, that's down on the bottom of the bag. and I think it's on the sides too, I think. I'm not sure. This I absolutely love. Absolutely love this. And this is made from blue jeans, recycled blue jeans, making a basket out of that. So I'm going to definitely have to make one of these. I'll show you one that I did one time, ages ago. This poor thing has seen many, many better days, okay? And you can tell what's in it, right? It's filled with cat toys. And I made this not knowing what I was going to do with it exactly, but it used to be a nicely shaped bowl, and it's pretty big, you know, it's pretty good sized. And it was nicely shaped, and everything was nice about it until Chance got a hold of it. And for those of you that might be new here, Chance is a big, fat Siamese cat. Getting fatter by the moment. Getting fatter by the moment. Hello, May. Yeah, and so Chance got a hold of this basket. I came in one day. Like I said, it was really well-shaped, and everything was really nice about it. And I came in one day, and on my desk, there was this great, that you see how this end of it is kind of flattened over here, and this big fat gray cat was sitting in the basket, and before long he laid down in it, and he just sort of made it his own. And so I decided, all right, never mind. I couldn't keep him out of it. He wouldn't stay out of it, so now I just put cat toys in it and call it a day and just move on. And he loves to rumble. Charlie doesn't care anything about these. That's the other Siamese cat. Charlie doesn't care anything about these. He likes, he doesn't like any of the toys. That's like beneath him. So these all belong, this is all Chance's private stash. So he gets in here and he likes to nose around, and then he'll get one. This is his favorite. He likes these, or these mice that don't look like mice exactly. He loves those. And he will get those out and play with those. We even play fetch with them. Yes. So the poor basket used to look better than it does now. So I don't know if I could actually make one of these and be able to keep him out of it. But I certainly do love the way this looks. So I love doing anything out of recycled denim. It's just one of my favorite things. So I'm just going to just page through this, just so you can see some of the projects that are in here. And there are always tips. That's one of the things that's nice about the Stampington publications. They always have pages of tips from the designers. Crystal likes my beautiful basket. It's not so pretty anymore, I have to tell you. It's not so pretty anymore. So just lots of different kinds of cute. Look, in front of a VW bus as a key fob. Those are cute. Made out of recycled leather. Ornaments, bracelets. This is pretty interesting. This is sweaters. These are old wool sweaters that they have cut up and felted and made into garlands. Now, you probably have to work at getting sweaters that will, do that. But I just think I think that I love the feel, the thought of the feel of that. I like felted fabrics. Hello, Linda. And just all different kinds of things. This is more felted wool, like sweaters that have been felted. Recycling little things into ornaments. I do find many inspirational ideas in the Greencraft magazine. So lots of fun. Simon's on safari. More green tips. I'm not the best at recycling. This one I don't know about. This one I have to say I don't know about. upcycled pillow boxes. So basically these are toilet paper holders that have been recycled into gift boxes. And yet if they didn't look like toilet paper core things, I might like them better, but that's not my favorite. I have to say, that's not my favorite. These are made out of pens, like Bic pens or Biro pens, the tubes. That's what that's made out of. Yes, there are not ads every other page, and the ads that are here pretty much are for their publications. You get a lot of content. I love these. I think these are really cool. If you do much entertaining, if you have access to silver, you know, old recycled silver, you can take the forks, and now you'd have to have the tools to do this. You beat the bowl out of the fork so it becomes flat, and then curve the handle down, and it's stamped. This is metal stamping with the names of the different kinds of cheeses. I just think that's really, really interesting. Sweater coasters, and then all natural holiday decor. This one, I have to say, I'm not fond of this either. This is just clothespins. This is a little too crafty for me. This is clothespins glued together to make a wreath. I'm not fond of that one. This is clothespins taken apart and made into trivets. Now this, if they were painted and some other things done to them, I think could be really interesting. These are half clothespins made into snowflakes. I don't like the natural part, just my opinion. I think that could be bumped up a few notches, but you know. Bingo notebooks, recycled holiday gift card gift tags. So take the cards, recycle them, and make some pretty gift tags. Different kinds of books. Twisted, I think this is twisted paper, I think, made into a headband. I haven't read that exactly. That might not be correct, but something similar. I thought this was interesting, using a bag that oranges comes in and just crocheting a top on it and make it into taking a bag, making a bag. There you go. I think these are really cute cards with feet on them, made in, you know, like a tree with feet on it. And embroidery, and then the rest of this is advertisements and how to submit and that kind of thing. Anyway, so that is a look through the current issue. This is the latest issue that just came out. It's on the newsstands because that's where I buy stuff. I don't subscribe to very many magazines. I look through them on the newsstand, and if I like it, I buy it. Because especially with these tend to be a little pricey, so I don't always buy them. These are $15 in the United States and $17 in Canada, and I have no idea what they cost anywhere else in the world. But they're a little pricey, but you can see I went through it page by page. So there is a lot of content in the magazines. That's one of the things I really like. Hi, Katie. It's Katie Fowler. So here is my take on the inspiration from, let's see if I can find the article, from the fabric corsages. Okay, so this is my spin on it. And so I thought that we would just kind of, I'll give you a close-up look at these. Thought we would play with these just a little bit. I'm trying to keep my thumb out of the picture here, so you don't have to look at my painted thumb. Anyway, here's one. So we're going to go through how I did these. Here is another one. But I think these, I love wearing pins like this on my coat, on a jacket. You know, like a winter coat, or I wear a denim coat almost the whole year round. I mean, the whole winter. Just layer up under it. And so I love having things like this to wear on a on my lapel or a collar point. And so I just thought, well, we'll make some of these. And actually, I think they would be cute if you did make a, you know, you could have two of them lined up. You know, if you had a long lapel, you could have two of them together. You could layer them this way. You know, you could do a variety of things. You could actually make a corsage of more than just, you know, one of them. Okay. So that's what we're going to look at today. So here are our little samples. So what I'm going to start with to make this easy on myself is I'm going to use a circle template. And this is the Westcott Jumbo Circles template. This happens to be the one that's T-826. You can find these in office supply stores. You can find them in craft stores. And if you don't have access to any of that, there is a link to this in the description box below the video. So that's what we're using. Hello, Janet. And anyone that I may have missed. Yeah, you could put two of them together and they'd look like eyes looking at you. Yes, they could. So I have this, and I put on the back of mine, the back of each of the layers, I lined them with denim on the back because I have a plethora of denim. So I have a scrap of denim here, and so we're going to just turn it over. And I'm going to use the 2 1/4 inch circle and a pen, an ink pen. Hello, Frederica. All right, so I'm just going to use an ink pen. You, of course, could use a proper pen. So I'm going to use a 2 1/4 inch. We're going to make 2 of these today. So I'm just going to draw around the template. The 2 1/4 inch, and of course you could do this, you know, in whatever size you want to do them in. I use 2 1/4, and then I use 2 inch for the ones that I made. I like the size that they turned out to be, so I'm going to do it again. And then 2 inch circles like this. And then I use the 1 3/8 or the 1.375. That is 1 3/8 right here. I'm going to use it for the center. So the first thing I do is I just draw a bunch of circles, like so. And I did draw it on the wrong side of the denim. And then I'll sit down and cut those out in a minute. And then I have a bunch of fabrics that I'm going to show you. And this is leftover stuff, okay? Leftover from other projects. I did not buy anything for this. I actually have a couple of circles left, so I'll just set those aside in case we want to use those. So this is, this fabric is duck cloth. It's printed duck cloth, which is one of my favorite things to use. And so maybe we'll just look at this and find a place in it. You don't want to get too picky about this because you're not going to see most of the fabrics anyway. So, like, for example, when I was doing the samples here, this layer right in here was one of the circles on here. I think it might have been this one or something similar like this. And so I laid my template on here to get that circle. And that was the middle layer, so it was the 2 inch. So I laid it on there, and you can see it's not exact. I don't know if you can see, but it's not exactly round. We'll go ahead and just do this just because it's here. Now I'm marking on the right side of the fabric this time, which is fine. It does not bother me one iota. So let's do one more just to give some choices. So just to prove that it doesn't matter where you do this, I'm just going to make one right here. Okay, so before I lose those, I'm going to just chunk out those circles, and then I'll trim them up in a little bit. But I find that having multiple choices is kind of nice. So there's a couple of circles there. And this is some silk, I believe. Again, it's something somebody gave to me at one point ages ago. And this is kind of nice for the centers of the flowers. So let's make at least one center out of this. So I'm going to lay down my template, and I'm going to do one of the 1 3/8 inch circles. Now, do you have to have a template to do this? No. You could find things around your house. It just makes it easy to have a template that you can just, isolate what you want to look at, and you can just draw right around it. Okay, so we got one of those. And this is some sort of upholstery fabric. I don't know what this is. And this is going to be easier to mark on the wrong side. And you could use either side of something like this. So I'm going to just mark on this side. And I'm going to do another center out of this. So, and we'll just cut that. And then I need a couple of the big circles. So I have another piece of upholstery fabric. So maybe we'll use that. Let's see, what else do I have? I have quite a bit of the printed duck cloth. So maybe we'll do one out of this. And this is all sewing themed printed duck cloth. So we'll just put it down, put the template down on the wrong side, and just see what we get. So I'm using the 2 1/4. So I'm just going to lay it down here close to the edge, not caring about what it gets, and cut it out. And then we'll do one out of this upholstery fabric. Just because we want to, just because. So I'm going to get close to the edge and draw the circle. And if I don't like these when I layer them up, I'll pick some more fabrics, but we're going to start with that. So here are my little circles, so we're going to take a minute and cut them out. If you have a die cutting machine, which I do, that has different sizes of circles, if you wanted to cut these out really quickly, and if they're the size circles that you want, you could use a die cutter. I have a mechanical die cutting machine. And if you have, I think it's the new Cricut Maker, which will cut fabric. I really don't know anything about it, but you might be able to use that to cut the specific size circles that you want. I just have mine's a Big Kick, and I have the Biggs dies, and they will cut fabric beautifully. And if you don't cut these out just perfectly, which I'm not on this fabric is a little tricky. It's nubby and slubby, and so the fabric doesn't like to cut perfectly. I don't worry about it. I just go, good enough is good enough. Okay, there's the small ones. All right, let's cut. This is duck cloth. Duck cloth is kind of like a canvas, and it is a wonderful fabric in my opinion. I use it a lot. I buy it in the natural color, 5 yards at a time, because I use it for so many things. I don't buy the printed pieces in that great a quantity. I'll usually buy a half a yard at a time. And the reason I buy it in smaller quantities is because I get tired of stuff and I want to move on to other things. And if I buy too much of any given, and I do the same thing for quilting cottons or batiks, the most of any fabric like that I buy is a yard. And that is so I don't have so much of it. And also that way it doesn't become too precious to me. And so I use it. And when it's gone, I go, oh, that was either the prettiest fabric I ever used, or oh, I'm so glad that's gone. And yeah. So we got one more, then we're going to cut out the denim pieces. Now, what they used in the article that is the inspiration article for this, they were using wool pieces that I think came from a swatch book. And I don't know if you even can still get swatch books like that with like wool upholstery fabrics and stuff like that in it. But that's what they were using for their samples or their little pieces. All right, so I'm just gonna chunk these into smaller pieces because I find them infinitely easier to deal with if they're already cut down into manageable sizes. These are just blue jeans, recycled blue jeans that I cut a piece of the denim down to size. You certainly do not have to do this. I just find it easier if I'm just going around the circle like this than to try to have to navigate a great big piece of fabric. So it doesn't take very long. I mean, I honestly did these quite late last night because it's when I had the time to get ready for today. And so I just sat down, I drew a bunch of circles on the fabric, and I sat down and I was watching Project Runway. The rerun, or the recording, I had recorded it, and so I finished watching Project Runway while I cut out the circles. Much to the dismay of the sponsors, because they think if I sit anywhere close to the television that they should be in my lap. And I kept having to scat them away because I was busy. They do not understand the word busy. Busy means holding cats, holding sponsors. And I'm sure you can tell that videos and classes that I do, if you've watched anything or if you've been here watching on the live streams, I do everything in real time. Now, I may have step outs done ahead, but I do everything in real time. I don't speed anything up. That's just my style. So we're only going to do 2 of these. The only other thing that you need besides what I'm using right here is I used some wool felt because I had it on hand. I had some that was 100% wool felt, and I had some that was a blend of wool and acrylic. You could use plain acrylic felt or polyester felt or whatever the synthetic fiber blend is. I really like the wool felt blends. It's just the fabric. 100% wool felt is just delicious. And the wool felt blend is quite acceptable. Okay, so we're going to pair these up. So we've got our choices. And I'm putting them wrong sides together. So our choices for the lower layer, I have one of these as well if I decide to use it instead. And then for our middle layer, I've got this one and this one. Remember that when these go together, there is very little that you're going to see except the top layer. Okay, so I'm layering these wrong sides together, and then I'm just going to layer them up and see, you know, what things I like together. And I don't spend a lot of time planning it. I go, yep, that's good. Okay? Okay. Hello, Skinny Cat. Hi, Nancy. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my sewing machine here. So hang on one second. Because you need to be able to see what I'm doing. So my sewing machine is the most well-traveled machine in the world. It doesn't travel very far, but it makes the trip multiple times a week out of the sewing room into the studio, back into the studio, back in the sewing room. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my camera here. Okay, good enough. Can you use ribbon? I don't know. You might be able to. Might be worth a try. I haven't used ribbon, so I can't answer that for sure, but I don't know why you couldn't. All right. Hello, Azure Muse. Good to see you. So here are our little flower forms. And I have a variety of threads here. These are a fraction of the threads that I have. These are all good eye candy, probably dusty, but a lot of eye candy here. And I like to use the neon threads, and so that's probably what I'm going to use on some of this. So to use a cone of thread like that, you need to have a cone thread stand. So here's the bottom of it, and it goes all the way up. It's very tall, so it's hard to show you on camera. It's a very tall thing. I have tape wrapped around it so that it can't jump out of the hook. But that's where I'm going to put the thread into my machine. And I just have a neutral thread in the bobbin. So I'm going to start with the bottom layer. And I'm going to use this ridiculously hot neon pink on this. I'll probably use it on both of them. I'll show you what my thread stand looks like here in a minute, once I get it threaded up. So I'm just threading the machine. I'm using a free motion foot, and the feed dogs will be down. So it's set up for free motion stitching because I can go faster. Alright, I'm going to see if I can show you. Now this will be crappy camera work, just so you know, because I'm hand holding the camera. Here is my thread stand in the back. It's behind the machine, the thread's sitting in it. and then the thread threads into my machine. So, yeah, shaky, crappy camera work, but at least you can see what I was doing. Okay, now at this point you just decide how you want to do this. It's just, you know, do it any way you want. So I have these just sandwiched together. There's nothing holding them. All right, I'm just going to put them together like this. Always lower your presser foot when you're doing free motion stitching. I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread so I don't cause a big thread nest, or thread puke as I like to call it, on the back. I'm going to set my machine so that the machine is, the needle is going to stop in the down position. All right, so the feed dogs are down. I'm going to hold on to the threads, get rid of my ring so it'll quit clomping against the bed of the machine. So I hold on to the threads, and this is probably the hardest thing, trying to do this so you guys can see and I can control the fabric, because it's a tiny little piece of fabric. So I will do my best to keep my hands out of the shot. So I'm just going to go in spirals. And once you get started, then you can cut off the threads and then you can go. Now, you're going to have to watch that you don't stitch your fingers, because this is small, and yes, you can stitch your fingers, so pay attention. And if you get going in an oval, then just turn your work so that, you can kind of even it up a little bit. And I'm going to call that good. Clip the thread. And I'm just going to let that, there's a little bit of denim sticking out because the bottom was obviously cut a little wonky. I'm just going to leave that. Okay. So there's that one. So we'll do the big layer on the other one as well. I did not stitch my finger, Debbie. I did not. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stitch the same way on both of them, so I'm just going to go around as a spiral on these two big ones. Thread under the foot. Hold on to the threads so that they don't get caught in the hook of the machine. Once you get going, then cut your threads, your thread tails, then you can just stitch. You held your breath even though you weren't sewing. You guys don't have any faith. Now another thing you could do on these is you could put sandwich the top fabric and the bottom fabric together, have it be bigger, and just stitch the circle and then cut the circle out later. That would be another way to do it. And if you have one of those, the Teflon sheets that you can put over the bed of your machine, that would make this much easier because the denim likes to stick to the bed of the machine. Good enough. Okay. Okay, so there's the other one. So they're just messy little spiral stitches. There's one. So those are the two bottom layers. All right, let's go to the next layer. Now let's change the thread, because I can't resist changing the thread color, because that's just what I have to do. So for the next layer, let's do, just because I'm in a neon kind of color, mood, we're going to use this orange neon. Okay, so this is an orange neon. What I'm using to hold the thread on, because it will fall off the spool and it will ruin a whole bunch of your thread. This is Hugo's Amazing Tape. It is a self-stick tape, like a plastic, and I just wrap it around there and it holds the thread. And I do that to all of my rayon embroidery, machine embroidery threads. So that's a good tip for you. If you like using threads like this, you do have to have a way to store them. Because I've had spools of thread, I've had to throw away more than half the spool of thread because it just unwound. Alright, so we have orange, neon orange. As my son used to call it, orange. He's probably not here. Alright, so the next layer of stitching, let's just do a, let's start in the middle. And I'm just gonna get my threads started here so I can get rid of the thread tails. And I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm just going to stitch, I'm going to stitch a little bigger circle here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch scallops, like maybe flower petals or something. I'm just going to stitch scallops. Keeping in mind that very little of this will show. But it's good practice. It's very good practice for your machine free motion skills to do stuff like this, because it doesn't matter. Honestly, anything you do, like there I just screwed up the stitch, it's never going to show. So I'm just repositioning each time and then stitching a petal or a scallop. So the stitching is connecting the two layers of fabric together, the denim layer and the top layer. Alright, so now I'm back where I started. So now I'm going to add more petals in between. Just to give it more variety. But you can tell that I take a break. So I just take a break. When I want to stop, I stop. But I'm the one that's moving the fabric. Okay, the feed dogs are down, so I'm driving the fabric. When I get back where I started, then I just stop, pull it out. And there is our little second layer. So this one is going to layer on top of that one. Okay. So you see what I mean? You see very little of what's going on down here. In fact, if you want to put more color around the outside edge to get more of the neon pink to show, you certainly can do that. But that's going to layer up like that. And, or maybe that was going to go on this one. Who knows? So we're going to do it again. But this is a great way to practice free motion stitching if you're not comfortable with free motion stitching. I've done it enough over the years that it's second nature to me now. It's mostly just getting the idea of what it is I want to do. That's the biggest challenge. Once I decide what I want to do, then I'm off to the races. Alright, clip the threads, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to make scallop bee petals. Again, you have to be careful that you don't stitch your fingers. Be aware of where the needle is. Know where you're going. And once again, I'm going to go in between the petals just to give it more character. When you get back where you started, you're done. So there's that one. So you can see why it really doesn't matter too much about what the fabric is that you start, you know, what you begin with. So we're going to layer those up together. Alright, and now we're going to do the center of the flower, and I think I'm going to go back to the neon pink. Always thread your machine with the presser foot up. Always sew with the presser foot down. Okay, that is the rule, and that is a rule that is a forever rule. So I'm just putting the plastic back around my thread. You like my style? Thank you. Something like this, the style is just free and easy and fun and messy. So I'm going back to the neon pink. And today, most machines today have a self-threading or a needle threader of some kind on the machine. This one is old enough it does not have that. So I got to do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, so this one we're going to, again, I've got the two layers. I'm going to start in the middle, press our foot down, bring up the thread, and then hang on to the threads and get started. And this is a tiny little piece we're working on. Okay? Now, this is the part that's going to show the most. So, for example, on this one, you see how you're going to see those petals the most. And especially with a high contrast of thread. This one, there's not quite the high contrast of thread, so you don't see as much of it. And this one, I just did messy circles for the center in there. Okay, so for this one, let's do that kind of square petal thing and see what we come up with. So if you want more contrast in color, you're going to have to use a deeper contrast in the thread. So more contrast between the fabric and the thread. And nothing says you can't change colors of thread and do this again, right? Okay, so I've completed that once, and I'm going to stitch it again to give it more coverage. So it gives the thread more presence. Good enough. All right. So there's our little center with little square-edged petals. So this one will probably go right on there. So you'll see some of the little scallop bits peeking out from behind. This one, we're going to do the same exact thing, which is just fun so you can see how things look on the different fabrics. So I'm not going to switch colors of thread. I'm going to use the same thread, same color, and I'll do maybe the same design or something similar. Okay, here we go. Hello, Jude. Nice to see you. And anybody that I happen to miss, because I'm not looking at the chat as much, thank you so much for being here. All right, so now let's do, instead of square petals, let's do a rounded petal. Okay, so I've done rounded tipped petals, And now I'm going to go again, just like I did on the other one, I'm going to go over them a second time to give the thread more presence. I'm kind of thinking in terms of going over the stitching I just did, but you know, if I miss it, that's okay. I just basically want more color and more thread. Okay, good enough. Good enough. Moving on. So here's our second one. Here was the first one. It's a little harder to see. There's the second one. So we'll put those together like so. All right, so while I'm here, I'm going to take these pieces, I'm going to stack them up, and I'm going to set my machine for a zigzag. And I'm going to bring up, again, I'm going to bring up the bobbin thread just again because it helps not to make a big nest of thread on the back side. Alright, so I've got both threads on the top. My feed dogs are still down, so they're not going to move. And basically what I'm going to do is a bar tack to hold these pieces together. So it's just holding everything, the 3 layers together. And at this point, I don't know what the instructions said to do because I've gone off on my own path. Okay, but now the 3 pieces are together. Same thing on this one. Line them up more or less. Whoops. I think I just ran out of bobbin thread. Let me see. Yes, I did. Okay, I'll be right back. I gotta go get some bobbin out of my sewing room. Be right back. Okay. All right, do-over. Sewing machine will not stitch without bobbin thread. No, it won't. Alright, pulling up the bobbin thread. This time I've switched. The one that had the most thread in my sewing room was navy blue, so this one's going to have navy blue. And it's like, oh well. So, a zigzag, it's just going to zigzag in one place. And it's just doing a bar tack, which just holds everything in place. And get rid of the threads. Alright, so our pieces are held together, the 3 layers. Okay? So here are 2 little flower corsages we've started, and you can tell now that you see the fabric colors, it doesn't matter what they are. It's just, you know, because they're going to turn out differently no matter what. You just put them together. I think the thread has more to do with it, honestly, than the fabric in some cases. So I'm changing threads now. I'm getting rid of the neon pink. Putting my Hugo's amazing tape on it to hold it. And I'm going to go back to King Tut, which is my standby. I'm getting very low on many colors of King Tut. I'm going to have to go shopping and get some more. Oh, darn. King Tut is a cotton, variegated cotton machine embroidery thread. It is my all-time favorite. I use it every time I do some kind of stitching project that is a decorative stitching project. I will use King Tut thread almost every time. It works in the machine every time. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some leaves. So here is a piece of wool felt. And I got to get some... I gotta find a piece of denim in my bag of denim. Found a piece. Okay, we're in luck. Okay, so here's a piece of denim. I'm gonna put it behind my felt. Now, on these other ones, I used felt on both sides. There's no point in that because it just is a waste of good felt. So I'm going to put denim behind them. And I have, at least I thought I did, here it is. I have a fabric marker. So I'm just going to draw some leaf shapes. Now, if these are not the right shape or not the right size, we'll always wish they had been. Alright, once again, I'm going to use free motion stitching. I'm going to put the presser foot down. I'm going to bring up the bobbin thread. Set it back to a straight stitch. I don't want to use zigzag anymore. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just some wonky stitching. I'm going to try and keep my hand out of the way so I hope you can see. And just some kind of wonky outline stitching. And I'll do it 2 or 3 times. This is just a regular sewing machine. Okay, so I've stitched this 3 times. Now I'm going to make the vein of the leaf. I guess you could call it an embroidery machine because I'm doing the embroidery. Okay, so there's one of our leaves. So I'm going to go to the next one and do the same thing. But I like the variegation that you get with the King Tut thread when you're doing these kind of, you know, wonky stitching. And the same King Tut thread would work fine with what we just did for the flowers too. And so now I'm going to do the vein. And we're done. I'm doing free motion work, and so that's what allows me to do that, because the feed dogs are not working. The threads are always under the foot. Yeah. So there are our little leaves that we've stitched in this color. So I'm going to go ahead and chunk these out. So I've got a sturdy little scissor here, and I'm just going to kind of cut these kind of close to the stitching, but leaving a little bit of the fabric. Okay, so there's one leaf. There's the back side. Absolutely, Marion. That is what we do here, if at all possible. So there's another leaf. Alright, so I'm going to take my denim and switch to another color of green. So I've got another, this one that I just used. This was 100% wool felt. This one is a blend. This one is wool and I think it's rayon, I think. Yes, I'm moving the fabric by hand. Free motion, that's what free motion is. You move the fabric yourself. If I have the feed dogs up, then the feed dogs are moving the fabric. Alright, so I'm going to take my chances here, because the purple is not going to show up. The purple marker is not going to show up, so we're going to truly freehand a leaf here, which I'm not very good at, truthfully. So the thread starts out under the foot. I hang on to the thread so they don't wad up on the back until I get going, and then I start drawing with this is like the paper, and that's like the pen. The thread is like the ink. So I'm moving the paper under the pen and ink. And I'm going to stitch exactly the same way. I'm just going to do several times around. Okay, one leaf done. Alright, let's move up and make another leaf. And of course you could make them different sizes if you wanted to. I didn't leave myself very much thread, so I made it a little harder for myself to hang on to the threads. And we have our leaves done, because I'm just putting 2 leaves with each little flower. So just cutting out close. In our inspiration project from Greencraft magazine, where this came from, they used pinking shears to cut out the leaves, which you certainly could do, would make them more interesting. That's not what I used. I just used plain old scissors. Okay, so we have leaves. All right, let me get rid of my sewing machine here. And we're ready to put some flowers together. All right. So we have, in case any of you came in after I got started, this is what we're doing, these little flower corsages, as it were. So this is what we're doing. And here are our pieces. So we have this one that we made and this one. They are stitched together just to hold them. Now what we're going to do is decide which color of green we want on which, or do we want one of each. And that's fine. I don't spend any time worrying about it. I just go for it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the leaves in between the bottom 2 layers. So I'm going to just arrange them in here like so. Okay. And then I get my good old tacky glue out. And I put some tacky glue, I know you can't see that, tacky glue in there. Stick in the leaf, both leaves. And the tacky glue will give you some time. It will buy you some time. It doesn't set immediately. And then just to make sure that everything's going to stay put, I just add a clamp to it and set it aside and let it dry. Now, if you need to add more glue later, you can always come back. If you didn't get it glued well enough, you can come back and glue it later. Same thing here. And if your leaves are too long, if this one is too long, for example, then I just take my scissors and I just cut off a piece of it and shorten it up. See? Just shorten it up. Easy peasy. So a little glue on both sides of the leaf. Stick it in there. Put a little glue on the tips, on the edge, front and back. Stick it in there. If I like the way it's positioned, then I just put some clamps on it. These are little pinch type clamps. I have a couple of different kinds. I like them both. And then I just let them sit there and glue up. Okay, now the fun part comes in that you can pick buttons for the centers of your little flowers. Okay, so that was that flower button. Okay, so I'm just going to dig through my buttons here. Again, I don't spend a lot of time. This is a fraction of the buttons that I own, people, but this was all I was willing to spread out. So let's see what we can find. This is where I can get carried away far too long. Okay, we're going to use this one in the middle of this flower. I can spend way too much time digging through stuff. I'm sure you guys don't do that. I'm sure you guys never spend time digging through things. I'm sure you don't. I don't know why I'm gravitating toward green on this one. Probably because of the green leaves. I might use that one. These all came from one package of buttons, so they're all very similar in color. This is a fun one. We'll use that one. It's a fun little button. Has some texture on it. Okay, we'll use that one. All right, decision made. All right, so putting buttons away because they can make a big mess. Now, if you don't like to sew through things that are super thick, which I don't, then I cheat. And I use, this is a bag of pearl cotton, which is another thing that I use all the time. So I get out my pearl cotton and I look through the colors to see what color I want to use for this one. And just so it will show up nicely, I'm going to use this yellow because it will show up really well, I think, for you guys. And this is the cheat way to sew on a button because you don't sew it on. So this is a 4-hole button. So I come from the back. It doesn't matter if you go from the back to the front. And I just thread the pearl cotton through the threads, through the holes. And I just decide, you know, how many times do I want to go through the holes. So I'm going to go through each one 2 times just because it will fill up the space a little bit more. And this is the challenge, to get it to go through the holes. And it's also where having a pair of tweezers would probably be beneficial. So I've gone through the holes 2 times. And then I got to go through the other 2 holes 2 times. And it helps if you spit on the thread. If you have beeswax, you could run the end of the thread through beeswax to stiffen it a little bit. Okay, so we have now stitched our button. I'm going to cut the threads. And tie a square knot. I know my hand is in the way, but give me a second, I will show you. So I'm taking the 2 ends of the thread and I'm just tying them together like so. And then I'll just reverse the 2 threads. So like left over right, right over left, or whatever order you want to do it in. Make sure that that knot won't come undone. It's not going to come undone anyway. But once I get that done, then I'm just going to clip the ends of the threads very close to the knot because I don't want them showing. Okay, so here is my stitched button, and then I come over here to my flower and I put on some glue, and I'm using Aleene's tacky glue. And I stitch my flower right there. Stitch it right into the glue. Ta-da! And my flower has a center. So I'm going to put this back on. This time I'm going to put this over the button. Okay, and I'm just going to let that dry. Alright, so now we have this one. And let's see, what color of thread shall we use for this one? I have a neon orange. Maybe we'll just use that since we kind of got the neon thing going on. This one's just a 2-hole button, so this is easy. So again, I come from the back to the front, down to the back, and then I'm going to come back up again, threads being ornery. I use the pearl cotton because it's thicker, and this is a size 8 pearl cotton, and it fills those holes a little quicker, and I don't have to go through them more than twice. Okay, then cut the thread, knot it. So you saw how I knotted before, so I'm not going to worry about you seeing it this time. Okay. Cut the threads. Add some glue. sew on the button. It's the easiest stitched on button ever. Sew on the button with glue. If you get messy with the glue, it will dry clear, which is a good thing. And then you can just put a clamp on it for a little bit. And if you need more clamps on the felt, on the leaves, you can do that. Okay, so that completes the flowers. Now, to wear them as a pin, I have pin backs. And I use a 1-inch pin back. And I think I put my needle and thread in the other room. So I'm going to have to go back in the sewing room where the sponsors are again. But I'm going to explain it to you first. So here is the one that I did already. And let's say that this is the way I want it to go, with the leaves off to the right. This is purely personal preference. The leaves could go to the bottom, they could go to the left, they could go to the right. It's whatever you want to do. I use a decent quality pin back. This is a bar pin back, okay? And it has a little, the little clasp catch here. It's the thing that secures the pin into, and keeps it from coming undone. I don't know how well this is going to translate on camera, but I do this so that there's a little hook. There's a little hook there. There's a little hook right here. I do that with the hook up. So when I stitch it on, I do it with the hook up, so that when the pin goes in here and this little clasp rolls over and secures it, if that ever goes the other way, you know, sometimes they'll work off. I sew these on so that this part goes up, so that it's going to take something to get that pin bar to come out of there. That's how I do it. If you do it the other way, you stitch it this way, sometimes that pin bar can actually work out a lot easier. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but anyway, that's how I do it. Okay, let me go get a needle and thread, and I'll show you how I stitch those on. Okay, I just dropped my thimble. There it is. So what I'm using is a polyester, this is Metrazine by Metler, polyester thread. Just looking at my needles to decide which one I want to use. Use the same one I always use. I use a long basting needle, or it's called it's a John James long darner. That is my preferred hand sewing needle. It is long. Some people don't like long needles. Totally understand. I do, so that's what I use. I'm going to knot the thread. I doubled it and knotted it, and I will attempt to make a small knot. Not bad, not too bad. Cut off the little tails, and this is where you look at it and you go, okay, I want it to face this direction, so I'm going to flip it. I'm going to put the pin on here so that it's toward the top, so it doesn't get top heavy. And so that the little open hook, I don't know if I can show this to you, so that the little open hook is facing up. And then I just whip stitch these on. Close to each end. So 2 or 3 times across will be plenty, and then I'm going to run my needle over to the other end of the bar pin. And then I'm just going to stitch it on the other end. And if you get really close, see if I can get a little closer to the end here. Sorry, I had to turn it so I could actually look at it straight on. Okay, so you want to try to get your pin straight across, and I'm going to try and stitch in this little section where it narrows down, the bar pin narrows down. Like so. And if you're doing this where you're not trying to do it on camera, you can do a much neater job, of course. Okay, and once it is securely stitched on, then just fasten off your thread. Knot it securely. Threads are being a pain in the you-know-what here. And this is certainly not my best stitching job I ever did. But we're just going to pretend it's good enough. So I'm going to knot off my thread. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail so that that knot won't come unraveled, undone, unknotted. And there's our little pin back stitched on. It's not very neat, so we won't look at that very long. But the pin clips into the little clamp holder, and you flip it up, and that's that. Okay? So that's how you do it. But by putting your pin back closer to the top, it's going to keep it from flipping and turning on you, wanting to tilt downward. So that's how you do that. Okay? So that's how you turn it into a pin. All right. We're done. I've shown you all the steps on how to do that. So we'll take one more look at all of our little pins so you can see them one last time. So there's that one. Here's this one. Here's this one. The neon yellow really shows up on that one. Okay, the ones that we made today this one. And this one. So they're fun little things that you can make as gifts. You know, it's nothing but a bunch of scraps. Nothing. I didn't buy a thing for these. Not one thing. Other than the magazine, which I wanted to buy anyway. And so the inspiration from this came from Greencraft magazine. And yeah, that is that. So if you have any questions, okay, thanks, Nancy. I'm not mad at you, not a bit. Yeah, they're not hard to make, and they really are cute, you know. I mean, see how cute that would be over here. See, put it on a collar. See how cute that is? Put it on a coat, put it on a blazer. You know, you could position it whatever way you want to. But that's what I like to wear. I like to wear those kinds of things. Also, you know, if your pocket is positioned properly, you do have to be very careful about things like this, that you don't put it on the pocket incorrectly, because it could look very bad. It's better to wear it up close to your face. Never mind, we won't go there. Okay. Yeah, on a purse strap. That's another great idea, Virginia. Thank you. All right, let's get the sponsors. And so let me get them out, because you know they're dying to come see everybody. We'll see if they remember. They missed a week of not being a sponsor, true sponsor, so we'll see whether they can manage to remember how to do this or not. Yeah, glad his skin didn't fall off. That's right. We're talking about the Nikki Beauty Bliss doing, who is Race's girlfriend. Race is the technical department. And Nikki has a channel. She does mostly beauty videos, and she did makeup. Race let her make him up as a clown. So if you want to check that out, it is pretty funny. It is, I think it's hysterical. Come here. You getting up here? Are you getting up here? Come on. It's your time of the day. It's your turn. He hasn't lost an ounce since the last time you saw him. Not an ounce. Nope. Not 1 ounce. There he is in all his glory. There is our sponsor. Our fearless sponsor, Chance. Yeah, exactly, Marion. I agree. That wasn't exactly what she said, but it was something similar. So, VIP members of the website, remember your live classes tomorrow. Check your email for the link. And the next stream will be Friday, the first Friday of December, which I think is December 1st. And I don't know what we're going to do, but hey, come hang out and find out. So in the meantime, I hope everyone is remembers to get creative today, because you know it's easy. Charlie's on the floor, and he's just sitting back there. He's too lazy to come up here and see you. So as I said, greetings to everybody. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to get creative today, because you know it's easy. And come see us over at How to Get Creative. Check out the membership. I will see you again in a month. Thanks, everybody. I will see you next time. Bye.